I own some shares of the YieldMax CONY, but how well is it actually doing? Hello my friends, this is Legend. I wanted to do a video on CONY. Wanted to talk a little bit more about where it sets in my portfolio, how many shares I've got and what my average cost is, and the distributions of CONY. Just to get a better feel of where I'm at with CONY and just to show an example of how CONY has been doing so far. Now I haven't been in CONY very long. I got in around November. Others may have been in this for a while and probably have been in it for a while longer than myself. But this is just an example, and this is my journey in the YieldMax ETFs. And I just wanted to see where I'm setting with CONY and how well I'm doing. So let's just start off right here. As you can see, it's got a distribution rate of 87.28%. That is the percentage of the distribution according to the current price. And if you want to know a little bit more about the distribution rate and what it is and how it works, you can see a video that I'll link up right here of a video about the distribution rate that goes a little bit more explanation, where I show that the high distribution rate doesn't always mean that it's a good play. So check out that video and see a little bit more about the understanding of how distribution rates work with the YieldMax. So as you can see right here, Group C contains CONY. CONY is part of that group, and all these ETFs in Group C had their ex-dividend, and you can see right here on this chart, it paid out on January the 10th. It had the X date of the 8th, and that is the Group C of the latest Group C payouts. So it paid out this past Friday. Okay, so back at CONY ETF site here, you can see, as I stated, we had the distribution rate of 87.28, and we scroll down right here, we can see the distribution was 83 cents for this past distribution payout, which paid out that Friday, and the list of all the other payouts throughout the months here. Now, I didn't get into this one until November. So let's slide over to my sheet where I'm going to enter in my values, and we're going to see how well I'm doing with CONY. Okay, so I have a split screen here. The left side, I'm showing my spreadsheet, and the right side, this is the CONY ETF YieldMax website, where it's calling out the distributions and the dates. So I'll be able to use this to plug in my distribution amounts. And since I only got in around November, I won't have a whole lot to enter in here, but we can see where I stand so far. For my spreadsheet over here, I'll enter in my ticker symbol. And here, the ticker symbol is CONY. So once I enter CONY in here, I have my start date of November the 14th. And as you can see, once I enter in the ticker symbol and the date that I start, it populates my dates here, and it also populates the closing price at that day. So everything gets populated here for my spreadsheet, which is pretty nice. I can change this ticker symbol to whatever I want. If I want to look at MSTY, I can type that in there, and it will change the prices. As you can see now, it's 34 to 42, 35, and that's the dates that it's reflective of. And I can use it not only for the YieldMax ETF, I can even use it for any stock. For instance, I can use it for Microsoft, and it populates the price and of course my date right here. And if I change my start date, it will repopulate that column as well. So I've got the CONY ticker symbol entered back into here. This is with my start date of November the 14th, and the end date I have as today. And it, of course, will know what today's date is. As you can see, I can scroll down here, and it's the last one here being the Friday, right? and then Saturday, Sunday. This is Sunday, but it's a weekend, so it shows it as a weekend. And then come Monday, it will show that as January the 13th. But neither here nor there. I'll enter in the number of shares I purchased, at what share price that was at, and I'll also enter in any dividends that I've earned. And of course, I haven't withdrawn anything, so that will probably just stay blank. All right, so let's enter in a few numbers here. And like I said, I haven't been in it long, since November, so we've only got a couple to enter in. Now, as you can see here, my start date was 11/14, which is November the 14th. That's when I purchased my first group of shares. And on that date, I purchased a total of 53 shares. And the purchase price that I paid for my shares was $15.11. So I got in, looks like it actually closed at $15.07 that day, but I got them for $15.11. Now, on 11/14, if I come over here to the right side, this is the distribution chart for CONY. And on November the 14th, right here, you look here being the 14th, it was on X date. So in order to receive the dividend, you must own your shares before the X date. And since I purchased my shares on the 14th, I did not own them before the 14th. Therefore, I would not get the $2.02 distribution shown right here for that 11/14 X date, because that's when I purchased those shares. If you want to know a little bit more about when you can purchase and still receive that distribution payout, I'm going to link another video right here. So check out this linked video to give you a little bit more explanation of that X date and when you need to own the shares by to know if you're going to receive that dividend distribution payout. So again, in this case, since I purchased those shares on the X date in order to get that lower price, which is what I was shooting for, I will not get that dividend. So therefore, this stays blank. Now, that 53 shares, I will get the distribution, the next payout, because I'll have owned 53 shares before that X date for those. Okay, so my next purchase was on December the 12th, and for that purchase, I purchased 16 shares here. So I'll enter 16 into this column, and I purchased them at $15.81. That was my second purchase there, and that again was on that X date. And then I can scroll down, as my next and last purchase I have so far is on January the 8th. So I'll scroll down to January the 8th right here, and I will enter in 16 shares again, and this price was at $12.45 per share. So now I've entered in all of my purchased shares and the price that I purchased those shares at. So now I can enter in the amount of dividend or distribution that I actually earned. Now in this column here, it's not so much of the dividend distribution per share price over here as like the 83 cent or the $1.33 and so forth. I'm entering in the amount that actually showed up into my account, which would be the number of shares times that price, right? But since at Webull, it doesn't come in on that actual payout day. It actually will show up a couple days later with Webull. So now, as you can see here, as we're going to enter in that distribution, and I'm calling that the dividend, it is a little misleading because it's not actually technically it's not a dividend, it's a distribution. But those words are so much interchangeable in most people's minds that a lot of times I'll call it a dividend, but it technically is a distribution. So where you see dividend, it is technically a distribution. So since I purchased these 53 shares here on 11/14, and 11/14 was the X date, and that was my very first purchase, I will not receive any dividend or distribution from those shares. I will receive that dividend for $1.33 on December the 13th for those 53 shares. Now, if I scroll on down, I did purchase 16 more shares on the 12th, but that again is that X date. So I will not get the $1.33 on those shares because that was purchased on that X date. And that's the reason I'm saying that I enter in the actual amount that I receive. That way it doesn't get too confusing of knowing, okay, well, I get that dividend for these 53 shares, but I don't get it for the 16 shares on December the 12th because I didn't own them at that time in order to get that dividend. So I'm entering in the total amount that I actually earned on those shares. So the 53 shares would pay me a total of $70.97 on December the 13th. So this December the 13th here is when I actually got paid that dividend of $1.33. And if I enter in the calculation, you'll see that it does indeed come up to that. So I can do the calculation here of $1.3391, so 1.3391, which is that dividend distribution amount right here that pays out on the 13th, times my 53 shares, because I can't add the 16 shares to that because I did not own them before the X date. Now, had I bought those on December the 11th, then I could add that 16 shares to this distribution here as well. So as I enter this, as you can see, it is the $70.97, which does match what I'm showing in my Webull account. So now we have another distribution coming, but this one here paid out on Friday the 10th. This is Sunday the 12th. So this one here will not show up into my account to either Monday or Tuesday. And at that point, that's where I would go in and I would enter that amount into that date. And that would probably come in on the 13th right here. But since this is Sunday and I will not actually get paid out the next dividend of 83 cents until tomorrow into my Webull account, I cannot really punch that in here as it has not been awarded to me yet. So I only have the one dividend amount to actually show, where I've shown this as making $70.97. My next one that will pay out on Monday, it will be 53 shares and 16 shares. It will not include this 16 shares because of the date, 1/8, and that 1/8 is the X date. So these 16 shares will not count, but it will include the previous 53 here. It will include that previous 53 shares, and it will include the 16 shares I purchased in December. So I'll actually have 69 shares, and that will be at a rate of 8.339. So that will actually gain me $57 and roughly 54 cents come Monday. So I'm gonna go ahead and enter that in right here, just so we can capture that right here. We have the 69 shares times the 0.8339, which is going to give us our $57.54 is what we'll actually earn come Monday. That will show up into my account. Now my chart here is not going to calculate that because that date does not exist and there is no closing price for that date. And it needs that in order to do the calculations. But I'm just typing it here just so that you can see that would be the amount that I'm going to earn on Monday. So my first and only payout actually so far was at $70.97, and the one that I will receive on Monday will be $57.54. Difference mostly is just because the last distribution was $1.34 and this one is 83 cents. So it's a little bit less this week, as we all know, but the market has been quite red as of late, and that is understandable. With Bitcoin, it did drop down back below that 100K at a point, so coin did drop down. And as coin drops down, and when I say coin, I mean Coinbase, as Coinbase drops down, so will CONY, because these ETFs will take all of the downside, but they are capped on the upside because they sell options and sell those calls against the underlying. So they have a max amount that they can actually earn, but on the downside, it can take the full drop of that stock. But Bitcoin, I think, is going to be one of those stocks this year that's going to really shine. That's my thought. I know the administration coming up is looking highly on the Bitcoin along with other ones. So I'm hoping that that helps push Bitcoin on up and we can see a nice gain on Bitcoin and the other plays like that, MSTY and such. Okay, so I've expanded my spreadsheet here just so you can see everything shown all in one screen. And as you can see, without that amount that I will get paid out tomorrow, without that, it's showing I have a total of 85 shares, and that includes the ones that I did purchase on the 8th. I have total dividends of $70.97 because I only have received one distribution. I will not actually receive the second one for the 83 cent per share, will not show up into my account until tomorrow. And once that shows up, then this will get increased. And that will increase to $128.51 once that $57.54 gets added in. But since it's not added in yet, I'm keeping that out for now. So as you can see, just with my $70.97, my one distribution, I am at a capital return of 5.66%. So just in the one distribution, technically you can say 1 month of distribution, I have earned a little over 5.5% on my capital invested. Once that distribution gets locked in tomorrow, and if I add that back in, you'll see now it has the 57.54 down here added back in, so my total earned is 128.51. Now my capital returned is 10.26%. So now I have earned a little over 10% of my capital back. So this one here, I see is going very nicely to get 10% in just the 2 months that I've been invested. That's a pretty good return of my money. Now, keeping that same distribution locked in to keep that 10% shown here for the total of $128.51 that I've earned. And we're just going to look into the future here and say it's Monday. Without actually showing that price on this graph here. But as you can see, the price itself, it is going and trending downward slightly. But like I said, we have been in a little bit of a down market in the last few weeks. So as you can see here, starting around about mid-December is whenever we started kind of ticking down a little bit. But it's not really going like hard down, right? You know, because we had, when we first came out, or when I first got in here on this chart, this blue line is where I got in at, and it was going up and down, but it's basically staying pretty flat throughout here. And then we had that drop right here, mid-December, had that big drop in the market, and now it is trading somewhat sideways here as well. The trend line shows a downward slope only because it is down trading from where it first came out. So overall, taking it full here, it is going down slightly on the trend line as far as in the price to date. So as you can see here on the first day, that 507 is what I paid to get in, and it looks like it's got as high, maybe about right here, of $18.40, and then we are at probably around about the low now of $12.42. So that's the reason why that red line is showing more of a downward slope. But as this flattens out, and if we start getting more of a movement up on Bitcoin, I think we'll start seeing Coinbase go up, and I hope to see CONY follow that. Then we may start seeing this trend line flatten out some. And that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see it flat. Going up is always a positive thing, but flat is good as long as it's paying out distributions. I don't mind it staying flat. Everybody would prefer it to go up, but I'm okay with it staying flat. Going down slightly, that's okay too. There will be fluctuations in the market. All prices will fluctuate. You can't go up forever. Everything that goes up must come down at some point. But overall, the market itself, even though it does come down at times, overall it goes up. And that's what I'm hoping to see with CONY as well. Now here you can see in my distribution chart that I have, this one here, it's showing on this graph where I came in, and it's giving that dollar amount of $883. That's the capital that I have invested versus withdrawing dividends. Of course, I haven't withdrawn anything from this one. So I have the original amount of $800.83 that I originally started with, and then when I purchased here, that took me to $1,124.76, and then my newest purchase put me at $1,323.96 total capital invested. And of course, right here is the chart of my dividends that I've earned. And this is including the future one that will be paid out on Monday. That chart is a little boring at the moment, just simply because I really have only received one coming up onto distributions. So not a whole lot to really show on the chart, but as it does go, this will increase and it will look nicer. So I just wanted to do a quick little video on CONY, of where my account stands with it, or if I indeed am making any money off of it or not. So as you can see, I have earned, come Monday, I will have earned $128.51 off of it, and that is roughly about 10% of what I have invested with CONY. So off of the 1 to 2 months, that's not too shabby. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you could please take a moment and like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps the channel out. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.